Difference between fixed partition scheme and the dynamic partition. So what is partitioning first? It contains information on the partition in relation to the primary partition, types of partition present, operating system installed, etc. Partitioning is the process of writing the hard drive sectors that will make up the partition table. Fixed partitioning. This is the oldest and the simplest technique of keeping more than one process in main memory. This partition determines the number of partitions in RAM, but each partition may or may not have the same size. It will not be allowed for any period as it is a consolidated allotment. Here, segmentation is done before implementation or during system configuration. I will give one advantage and one disadvantage of fixed partition. So the advantage is easy to implement. The algorithms required to implement a certain division are easy to implement. Certain partitions must be processed regardless of the emergence of internal and external fragmentation. The disadvantage of fixed partition is internal fragmentation. Main memory usage is inefficient, and if program, even the smallest, covers the entire partition, this can lead to internal fragmentation. Dynamic partitioning is another technique to overcome the problems faced in fixed partitioning techniques for memory management. In dynamic partitioning, we do not initially declare the size of the partition. Instead, we declare the size of the partition at load time. And this, the operating system retains the first partition. The rest of the space is divided into different sections. The partition's size and process size to remain the same. In dynamic segmentation, we can avoid the internal segmentation problem by resizing the partition according to the needs of the process. I will also give one advantage and disadvantage of dynamic partition. So the advantage is there is no limit on the size of the process. In certain partition, if the size of the process greater than the size of the partition, we cannot keep or load the process into memory. But if we talk about dynamic partition, process size cannot be set and we can resize partition according to process size. The disadvantage is complex memory allocation. In case of fixed partition, once we have created a list of partitions, we cannot change them again. But in the case of dynamic partitioning, the task allocation and dematerialization is difficult because the size of the partition change when the partition change. When the partition is allocated to a new process, the operating system has kept track of each partition. So, because of the difficulty of further allocation in dynamic memory space and every time you have to resize the partition, therefore it is difficult for the operating system to handle everything.